Well, welcome to this latest edition of Blunt Talk Quick Takes NBA Playoff Edition. I am your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the now humid and sunny and very spring-like confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the Blunt Talk Quick Takes out exclusively here on Podbean. However, if you're looking to catch out other episodes of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast, you can check us out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, Patreon, and as well as on Trovo. Before we get into this NBA playoff, quick takes edition episode, guys, I'm going to say give a shout out to some friends of the show. First and foremost, I definitely want to make sure, guys, if you're definitely looking to get out this weekend or get out any point during the season, which I would definitely implore if you work hard like I am, or busy with the kids like myself and my wife, I would definitely implore you to get out. Check out StubHub. Now, lately, right now, there's a lot of beautiful things going on with StubHub. We got the PGA Championship popping going on right now. That's May 15th through 18th. You got the NBA playoffs, obviously, in full swing. Chris Brown is touring. For some of the ladies out there, definitely looking to check Chris Brown, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, and the NHL playoffs. Also, as well, for my UK subscribers, if you're looking to check out some things out there via GoGo, there's also Primavera Sound. This will be in Barcelona, Spain, from June 5th through the 7th. You have Glastonbury Festival, which will be in Pilsen, Somerset, England, June 25th through the 29th. The Montreux Jazz Festival, which will be in Montreux, Switzerland, July 25th. Exact dates are yet to be announced. So definitely stay plugged in for that, but definitely a lot of shows and events. It's festival season, so definitely get out there and check out and get your tickets from the number one and number two leading selling ticket getters and resellers in the world for live tickets to concerts, shows, and events. That's StubHub and Viagogo. And also, guys, I want to make sure we give a shout out to PlayStation Direct. For any of my friends of the show or fans of the show, whether UK or United States, if you're looking to get a PlayStation, or you're looking to get some bundle packages, or been curious about adding it to your collection, or you're a PlayStation enthusiast like myself, definitely check out the links in the description of this video. There will be a link to the PlayStation Direct link, and you'll be able to check out the packages and the PlayStation offers that they have available right now. PlayStation, more than a game. All right, guys. Well, after all of that, glad to be back with you. It's been a couple of days. I was experiencing some technical difficulties over the weekend, so I do apologize. It's been a couple of days since I've been back. I was able to post some things over the past few days on YouTube and Substack. And for if you want some exclusive things like my draft recaps, or you looking for things like that, or things, my diagnostics going into the playoffs, definitely check out the episodes that I have on Patreon as well. A lot of things that we've just been unpacking here at the Bloodshot Sports Podcast and just really unwinding and getting into. Nonetheless, though, we want to get into these playoff games and some NBA news. Like I said, it's NBA Blood Talks Quick Takes edition. Right now, we're going to go into probably the most heartbreaking game of the NBA postseason so far. If you're an if you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan. The Indiana Pacers were able to win in overtime against the Bucks, 119 to 118, ending the Milwaukee Bucks season as quickly as it seems to have started. What a mess. What a disaster if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks played a hell of a game. First of all, they came out there shooting for their life. It was a physical, great game, and you got to give the Pacers credit too, because throughout the whole game, even throughout overtime, obviously securing the victory, they showed fight and were able to come back after getting their asses handed to them for most of the first half. So you got to give Indiana that credit for showing that poise to defeat a defending champion, or a man who's led a team who's won a championship within the past 5 years. So that was impressive. The Bucks, though, they definitely should have won this game. The turnovers, which is something that's plagued them throughout this whole postseason, something that has just been a bad, bad fucking red herring for them. As soon as literally, as soon as they get going, the ball's moving, they start pushing, and it's like errant pass after errant pass, errant inbound passes late in the game. Bad fouls and situations that shouldn't exist, that shouldn't happen. If you're Milwaukee, this is a disaster of a season. Doc Rivers has to be culpable for some of this because, in all honesty, he's had the team now for a year and a half. You would have thought that they would have been a lot better. People are going to easily say, well, they've been injured. They've dealt with a lot of injury there. They've had a lot of turnover and sifting of the roster. And yeah, they let go of Drew Holiday and, Chris Middleton. I agree. It was time for Chris Middleton to go. But there was a lot of pillaging of this roster that didn't need to happen early. And you kind of took away the teeth of this team as far as the second unit and some of the peripheral role players. There's no more PJ Tucker. Bobby Portis is the only enforcer there, and he can only do but so much. And again, Giannis played a magnificent game, 30 points, 20 rebounds, 13 assists, 9 of 17, 9 of 11, excuse me, 9 of 17, excuse me, from the field. An amazing game. But if you really pay attention, Gary Trent Jr. went off. It was a lot of positive things that you could, if you're a Bucks fan, you saw your team fight. You saw them show poise. You saw them really scrap and claw and hit clutch shot after clutch shot to stay in this game. But if you're a Bucks fan, you have to ask yourself, where the fuck has this effort been the whole series? I mean, and realistically speaking, the Pacers have had a team effort the whole series. The Bucks didn't. That's really that, and the turnovers have been a deciding factor. I mean, you got Gary Trent. He goes the fuck off. He gets you 33. You got Kevin Porter Jr. getting you 11 points. Bobby Porter's getting you 14. AJ Green getting you 19. You had the disappearing, commodity known as Kyle Kuzma getting you 5 points. Brook Lopez too, and Jericho Sims 4. So again, your bench essentially gave you 11 points, but you had a lot of production from your starters to where if you just don't commit dumbass turnovers late in the game, you win. They have to wear this. They have to wear this. I know Giannis said he's not currently worried about the future right now. I know he said that there's some things that, he's just trying to really take in really this loss and understand what really happened and what's really going on. But they may have to really start pillaging this roster and really start figuring out what the next moves are because the outlook doesn't really look great as far as the future because honestly, God, truth, I'm just going to say it to you without, sugarcoating it. If they don't move Giannis, there's really no way for this team to grow within the next 5 to 10 years with him on the roster, at least. Quote, Antetokounmpo said Tuesday night, it doesn't feel good, man. Just got to look in the mirror and I have to be better as a team. We work hard. We play the right way. Not being able to win games definitely hurts, but you got to keep doing what you're doing. He also went on to further discuss when asked about his future in Milwaukee after the game. He stated, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I know how it is going to translate. I don't know, man. I wish I was still playing. I wish I was still competing and go back and working out. It was great that he didn't really dive into that. He's not going to right now. Antetokounmpo has always had respect. He's always shown that type of respect for the game and for his teammates and for that organization. He's also let them know too that he's not, taking any shit lying down. He's not going to allow them to just sell him a bill of goods. So it'll be interesting to see what moves they make. If they keep Doc Rivers, I would contest that them getting Doc Rivers might be also healthy too, because I just feel like he's kind of a jinx, to a lot of the rosters that he's around. The teams seem to get better, for lack of better words, once he's gone. So yeah, that it's crazy. It's crazy, but the Bucks definitely choked. But shout out to the Pacers. Hell of a series. Did exactly what they were supposed to do. Shocked the world. The Pacers, I mean, they did this last year, so we know now it's definitely not a fluke. Now, ultimately, the Pacers season is going to be dictated and ruled upon if they can beat the likes of the Clevelands, or the New Yorks, wherever the seeding may fall. But they're definitely, they definitely got out of this series and proved that they could play, proved that they're a force to be reckoned with. And I would even contend that they're a possible dark horse team in the NBA postseason this year in the Eastern Conference. Going a bit further here, we have Pistons versus Knicks. This has been a classic NBA series. I've loved this series all the way through. It has been exciting as all hell to watch. To be honest with you, it's kind of a nod to the throwback as far as the physicality and, the roughness of the game itself per se. But for a lack of better words, I love it. It's looked good. Some of the games have been kind of going a little bit, as far as intensity, a little bit, going close to being full-fledged fights. However, with this Knicks Pistons series, it's a young team trying to prove they belong and a veteran team trying to prove that this is their time. So it's beautiful to see. But nonetheless, Pistons were able to win this game 106 to 103. Like I said, Detroit's fight and poise ultimately shown why they've been able to stay alive in this series. At least for now, God forbid they have another crucial or weird, call going against them late in the game. But nonetheless, their physical and scrappy players was kept them alive in this series and was kept this series going. And that's in spite of Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson going off. And it's kind of weird too, because I'll get on Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart a little bit further to expand on that. But those two have been deadly against the Pistons in this series. But I like the Pistons the way the ball's been moving too. They flow as a unit. It's not Golden State Warriors-esque, but nonetheless, it's very good team basketball. Very much camaraderie is what you want to see in this type of setting, especially playoff basketball, especially when you're playing a veteran team that's been together now for a year or so. Granted, saying it's Karl Anthony Towns, but most of their roster has been together for at least a year and a half, 2 years. So definitely good to see that. Great matchup. Both these teams have been a great matchup against each other. That's been fantastic. The games have been close. Now, with Jalen Brunson getting hurt late in the game, him and Josh Hart both getting hurt, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Josh Hart playing is obviously nowhere as near as significant as Jalen Brunson being in the game. However, I do feel like if both of them miss, that's really a significant loss for the Knicks. And if Jalen Brunson misses any time whatsoever, I feel like that's a major advantage to the Pistons because Jalen Brunson has been deadly in this series against the Detroit Pistons. He's pretty much carried the load for the most part. I mean, which we all kind of expected for a guy being in that role and having that much, commanding that much money and being in New York and Madison Square Garden, having the pressure on him. He averaged 26 points during the regular season, but in the playoffs right now, he's averaging against the Pistons 28 points per game, almost 8 assists, 42% from three and 51% from the field. So if he misses any time, that's a significant loss for the New York Knicks. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. Tobias Harris. Now, anybody who has followed my show for any long period of time, again, if you're new to the show, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But if you're, been a fan of the show for a while, from last postseason, I commented on Tobias Harris and how he played and how I thought he played like dog shit with the Sixers, in that playoff series against the Knicks. And it's amazing how, sometimes the very road that you take to avoid, things is, you find your destiny on it. Because right now, excuse me, right now, Tobias Harris has been the silent help for the Detroit Pistons in this series. I mean, he hasn't had those 30, 40 point barrages, not anywhere on that level, like he may have once before I did, in his younger years. But he has still been solid for the Detroit Pistons, that veteran presence, that calming veteran presence that he's been for them. I have to give him a shitload of credit. He had another good game, solid game last night. Pulling up the information here for you. And it's crazy because after the season that he had a year ago, it didn't seem like he was going to be able to show up or show cause or prove that he still had something left in the tank. But again, he's averaging around what he averaged in the regular season, actually about 2 points, half a 0.2 percentage points less. He's averaging about 13 points per game in the regular season and the postseason, 2 assists per game, but he's shooting 42% from three. And his field goal percentage is actually dipped a bit. It's actually almost 46%, averaging close to 48 in the regular season. But Tobias Harris has been a silent help for this young Pistons team. The veteran presence that they were expecting him to be in Philadelphia a year ago and the years prior, where he was stealing money. This year, he's actually been the veteran presence in Detroit. So got to give him a lot of credit for that. And last but not least, Cade Cunningham. He is growing in this series. I noticed late in that game, late yesterday, they trusted him, full confidence in him to take those shots and make those shots late. He was getting double teamed late at some point, and he was still able to maneuver and make the right pass or make the right shot. Got to give this kid a lot of credit. He has definitely been ascending in this series. I fully expect this series. I fully expect him within this series to have to make more big shots because he's going to have to continue to grow for them to win. Tobias Harris playing well is great. Duran on defense, against Karl Anthony Towns, even though he's been getting bodied, the defensive plays he has made in certain games, past two games especially, it has been fantastic. But they're going to need Cade Cunningham to take that next step for this team to make it to the next round. Now, just looking at his regular season numbers compared to postseason. Now, regular season, he averaged 26 points per game. Now, again, nothing to sneeze at, nothing to scoff at, but just in comparison to the postseason, Cade Cunningham's averaging almost 31 points per game, 8 assists, 52% from three, and 56% from the field. They need Cade Cunningham to continue to grow and continue to ascend in this series to win. Like I said, if he's able to continue to put up those type of numbers and Jalen Brunson doesn't play this game, I fully expect this series to go 7 games. Next, we're going to go into the Nuggets versus the Clippers. The Nuggets were able to pull this game out. Now, the score looks a little bit more lopsided than what the game actually was. Nuggets were able to win 131 to the Clippers only scored 115 points. Now, Denver's up 3-2 in this series after last night, but the score was not completely indicative of the game. Denver, clearly being at home, came out with the proper amount of intensity and fight that was needed to win this game. It was much needed because, again, if you lose this game at home, you know, that's bad dope. And then you're going back to Los Angeles. So what wasn't really going to be a good look for the Denver Nuggets, but Denver came out with the intensity needed, brought the fight to the Clippers. Kawhi was the primary offense for the Clippers early on and throughout. He had 20 points last night, 11 assists, 9 rebounds. And he was 1 of 4 from 3-point range. So didn't shoot all that fantastic, but nonetheless was still efficient and still as productive as he's been as of late, and especially in the postseason, this late in the season. So got to give Kawhi credit there. Zubac. Zubac for the Clippers has been phenomenal this series. He hasn't gotten the praise, that like Jokic or Murray or Kawhi or James Harden and any of those guys may have gotten, but Zubac has been phenomenal this postseason. In the game last night, he had 27 points, 5 rebounds, but nonetheless, like I said, Zubac, he was 11 of 15 from the field. So the efficiency from the Clippers is great. The problem is you can't let the Nuggets get the three ball going like that. You can't let the Nuggets get the three ball going like that. Because you figure you got Zubac, who in the regular season averages close to 17 points per game. He's only averaging 13 in the postseason. So what that tells me is playing a little bit more defense than he is worried about scoring points. When you have, James Harden, Kawhi, Nolan Powell, you got Batum, you got other guys that can score, completely makes sense. However, I think the major factor into all of this is there has to be a point where Zubac has to score a little bit more because I think if he's scoring, he's efficient. It just makes the Clippers even more deadly. But I wanted to make sure I gave him a shout out to how he's played and, the great play that he's had so far this series. Russell Westbrook, we knew the game was coming. We knew he was going to have a game at some point. He had that great game last night. He helped Denver maintain the lead throughout the game. Westbrook at 21 points. He was 3 of 6 from 3-point range. He was talking his shit. He had it going. And once Westbrook has it going, and you got Jamal Murray, who my God, 43 points, 7 assists, 8 of 14 from 3-point range, on fucking fire. When you have that guy, when you got Westbrook off the bench shooting like that, and then you got Murray shooting like that, the Nuggets were just unstoppable from 3-point range. To give you an idea how well the Nuggets shot from 3-point range, 1 second here, 51.5% from three. And keep in mind, majority of that is, Westbrook and Murray. So amazing. Got to give him credit there. Also, too, I think what was also hilarious is you have to wonder if Denver can keep that up, they can have another performance like that. You have to almost assuredly say that they win the series. It's funny because I really felt like the Clippers had them. I really felt like this was the Clippers series to lose. But, the Clippers have kind of put themselves sometimes in bad situations where their three-ball defense and teams get hot. It's not the end of the world. It's not like the Clippers can't win this game tomorrow. But, when you put yourself in a bad situation where you allow a team to shoot that well from three, you're going to lose the game. You're going to lose the game. And also, too, you got to give the Clippers a lot of props, too, because they did have a comeback effort late. They brought it back to within 8 points. You made an 8-point game at the 3-minute and 24-second mark in the fourth quarter. However, Murray and Westbrook and Jokic just started pulling away and, made the lead a bit bigger and just ultimately secured the victory. So they're up 3-2. If they win, obviously, they close the series out. But if the Clippers win, this means it's definitely going 7 games. What an exciting time to watch NBA playoff basketball. So I'm just loving all of this up and soaking it all in because, again, it's rare that you get a lot of great series in the first round. So to get 2 series that may potentially go 7, no guarantees, but may potentially go 7, it's always exciting. All right. The Celtics finally closed the series out against the Orlando Magic, winning 120-89. Celtics win the series 4-1. I'm not gonna dogpile on the Magic. The Magic deserve a shitload of credit in this series. They were playing the NBA champions. They were playing a team that they weren't expected to beat. Nonetheless, they show fight, poise, tenacity, all the things that you want to see from a young basketball team trying to accomplish the unthinkable against, NBA champions. So, gotta give them a shitload of credit for that. I think what is also revealed, which is rare, you don't really see that too much where both teams come out with that sense of urgency. Typically, you see one team coming out like that and the other one kind of like lags behind. However, as you dig further and you research and you look, you see here that Jayson Tatum, came out like a man possessed. 35 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, 4 or 5 from 3, which was the most crucial part of that game last night. Those 3-point shots that he hit were so crucial. I mean, it dictated the way the night was going to go for the Orlando Magic. Then, you got, and keeping in mind that Tatum was 10 of 16 from the field, so efficient. Again, Jaylen Brown being efficient as well, coming with an attacking and aggressive style. He had literally 23 points, 6 rebounds, 2 of 4 from three, but he also was 9 of 18 from the field. Again, attacking, aggressive style, putting the Orlando Magic in a situation, in a compromised situation they didn't want to be in after putting Boston in a matchup difficulty early in the series. So, got to give the Celtics credit for that. I definitely want to highlight Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero to me is definitely ascended in this series, this playoff round, in the series itself. Last year he played great. This year he played even better. But however, the foul trouble is ultimately what cost them. Putting yourself in that type of foul trouble early on when you're playing a team of this caliber is just a recipe for disaster. He'll learn that as he goes along. But nonetheless, last night he had 19 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. 2 of 4 from 3-point range, but that aggressive, solid defense that was needed to play, to prevent from being closed out. He played so aggressively early that he just put them in a bad situation and put himself in a bad situation. He'll learn from this. He'll learn from it. It's heartbreaking. It's not easy when you're young and you're trying to win and you're putting yourself in situations where you should be overcoming it, but it may not happen for whatever reason. So, gotta give him credit though. He definitely tried. And him and Franz, they got him and Franz Wagner. They meaning Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner. They need more help. The Magic have to figure out a way in free agency and off season to get these guys more help. For them to be able to advance to the next round, they definitely going to need it because even their 3-point shooting was inconsistent. Even though you had Banchero going 2 for 4, as a team as a whole, they only shot 21% from 3-point range, which is fucking garbage. And no team is going to win a basketball game playing like that. So weird, weird. And then you got the Celtics going on this fucking major run, like all world NFL fucking team where they go 35-9 in the third quarter, 35-9 run. I mean, it's insane. Boston is built to win the Eastern Conference. As I've said on previous episodes, they're my pick to win the East. However, you have to be fucking delusional to think that they're not going to run away with it with the way that they can just take over a game and run a team down. And it's not easy. Please, just like Jayson Tatum said last night, it is not easy to beat teams like this. So definitely want to give them kudos there. I'm finishing up some NBA house notes and house cleaning before we wrap this episode up. I have a video of this posted on YouTube, so if you want to check that out, there will be a link in the description of the video. But the NBA plans to modify the NBA All-Star game, similar to the NHL All-Star format, which is the Four Nations face-off, which has been a massive success for the NHL. Now, the NBA's and Adam Silver say they're going to use either USA versus the world or NBA versus the world style format. However it may be, and I think it's going to be definitely exciting. The NBA All-Star game has needed this. It's been very, very fucking boring watching it without, any type of juice to it. The dunk contest is watered down and garbage. 3-point contest, they don't always get the best shooters. And then a lot of gimmicks are thrown into it now to try to keep your attention. So wasn't a fan of it. It was dying off. But I definitely like this idea, and I definitely think this is something that people of all, basketball fans of all walks of life will get behind. Also, too, want to touch on my favorite basketball team, the Sacramento Kings. Finally coming to a decision as far as their head coaching search and retaining Doug Christie and removing that interim label and making him the full-term head coach. I think this is a great move. The team needs continuity. You can't continue to keep talking about building a winner and building a playoff team, but you're getting rid of guys for fickle reasons and, incompetent reasons. So got to give a lot of credit there for Bob Diva and Scott Perry for stemming the tide and keeping the continuity going. It's going to be interesting what Scott Perry does as far as the GM because the Kings, depending on where the lottery situation falls out, the Kings, I think, maybe in a problem situation where if you can offload DeMar DeRozan and possibly get somebody of ilk, a good talent, a good young talent back, that might be something you might have to investigate because you have a roster that can win 40 games. Now, they might try to run it back with Levine and DeRozan. I think that might be a mistake in my honest opinion, but they might try to run it back saying, hey, those guys weren't healthy. Levine didn't get to the end of the year, full off season, and then playing, the contract that he's on, sky's up, everything's looking up. You also got to keep in mind his injury history. So it's a lot of things to unpack there with Sacramento, but we want to definitely celebrate this fact that Doug Christie got the job. He deserves this. Doug Christie, obviously being spent a period of time of playing with the championship contending Kings teams early in the 2000s. He got the opportunity to be as assistant coach for several stints with Luke Walton, and then also with Mike Brown. So it worked out very much for him to kind of stick around and stay. So I'm very much excited that he's there. And I hope that, Vivek Ranadive, Scott Perry, and Doug Christie can rectify this, man, because with Sabonis and with some young talent, you could probably do some damage in the West. But, seeing how OKC is, seeing how these best teams are, you definitely going to have to make adjustments if you want to be any type of contender. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to the Rookie of the Year, Stephen Castle, on the San Antonio Spurs. Stephen Castle had a phenomenal year. I mean, he just culminated it off with Rookie of the Year. He averaged 14.7, so almost 15 points per game, 42.8, so basically 43% from the field. And if you think about it, coming from UConn, where he was already a highly touted prospect, going to the Spurs, playing with Wemby, playing with Chris Paul, playing with some of the guys that he had there, you could definitely see the growth and potential of this guy. There was obviously a lot of speculation that he might have got traded before the trade deadline, for the sake of the Spurs. Thank God that didn't happen. But for the Spurs, this really is a major accomplishment because when you think about it, Victor Wembanyama last year and Stephon Castle this year, you've had 2 Rookie of the Year. So that means you can trust your draft. Your draft process has been thorough. And you should be a contending team within the next 2 to 3 years. There should be nothing really holding you back because you've drafted well and you're going to your thought process would be is you're going to continue to make proper acquisition of talent. But I definitely want to make sure Stephen Castle got his props, Rookie of the Year, and he's definitely earned it. But that's going to do it for this episode of Blunt Talk Quick Takes NBA Playoff Edition, guys. I love you guys for always checking in and making sure you're plugging in. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care, and whether you're at work or home or just out vacation, wherever you may be, peace.